Hi, I'm Amy Kroom, and welcome to Independent Thinking Executive Insights. Very excited today to be joined by Steve Jermier.
Hey, Amy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Well, it has been a little while since we've seen each other, so I'm really glad we got to get face-to-face again. So tell us, what is going on with Wells Fargo?
Yeah, a lot. The last time we saw each other was in the fall.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, the year for us overall ended really well. We were up significantly, up double digits. Wow. It's interesting, though, when you think about why that was. Everybody hears the word inflation and what's going on right now. And if you really look, inflation carried our year in 2022. Average tickets, just like they are for your retailers, were up significantly, 15% year over year in most of our verticals. And the part that scares you a little is the underlying metrics, like foot traffic, applications, stuff like that, were actually down year over year. So far this year, things are looking up. Okay. So I'm a little surprised, candidly.
Pleasantly, though?
I am pleasantly surprised. We're up year over year in volume and in applications, which if you would have told me that, right around Christmas time, I would have said I'm not so sure. Yeah. But things are looking good right now. And we're working on, from a long-term strategic standpoint, we're working on a lot of technology and innovation that we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah, wonderful. So inflation is an issue, and it's been an issue. It's continuing to be an issue. And I think that there's a lot of fatigue almost around the uncertainty about what the environment is going to do. So how is Wells Fargo kind of working to support the members as they support their customers?
Yeah, I would start by saying, let's just level set what is really going on in the economy right now. And it's a little crazy. Yeah. We were, I think, right around Thanksgiving of 2021, our funding costs were effectively zero. They were free. And everybody watches the news, what the Fed has done. And we don't, look, as a lender, and this is something, I talk about as much as I can just so everybody understands it. We don't index to the Fed funds rate. That's not what banks do. So I don't want to get into like the 200 level class here, but we do something called matched maturity. What that means is when a customer takes out a promo, I try to pick a funding index that matches around the time that it's going to take them to pay that promotion off. Okay? So the two big ones that we index against are the 6 and 12-month U.S. Treasury yield curve rates. So here's the full perspective on what we're dealing with. Yeah. In, again, Thanksgiving of 21, those were pretty much free.
21? Okay.
Over the course of the last 16 or so months, they're now, one has dropped a bit here recently. We'll talk about that in just a second. But they peaked here 2 weeks ago at 5.25-ish, right? Wow. So when you think about how we have to price our programs, that is a cost. It's a variable cost for us on what we have to go out and lend our money against. Yeah. And when you go from 0 to over 5% in that short of an amount of time, I mean, it's unprecedented. So there's that, right? And then we talk a little bit about the consumer and what's going on right now. And I'm a positive guy. I am, right? But we have to be realistic here. The stimulus money that came out with COVID is gone. Yeah. U.S. savings rates are now officially below where they were pre-pandemic. So from a disposable income standpoint, customers don't have the money that they had over the last 18, 24 months. This is the really scary one. Revolving debt, right? So the average U.S. consumer credit card debt is now higher than it was pre-Great Recession in 08 and 09. Ooh. Okay, so I'm not painting a good picture, but I'm painting a realistic picture, okay? Yeah. Revolving debt is up, savings levels are down. We just talked about funding costs and the R word that nobody wants to say out loud that's kind of lingering on the horizon is becoming a real thing. We've got an inverted yield curve right now, which is historically almost a certainty that a recession's coming sometime in the next 6 to 24 months. Now, when and how deep? Look,
that's a little broad. But
it is broad. It is broad. Yeah. As soon as that yield curve gets inverted, it's almost like clockwork. Within about half a year to 2 year time frame, we're going to go through something, right? Okay. And we're just watching right now to see, I would say, how bad it's going to be. Unemployment looks okay right now.
Right, it does.
Right? So, okay, that's enough doom and gloom. So, what are we doing to help?
Right, because that really is the issue. Is there's all these factors that indicate the recession is coming, but we're still not there yet. We still don't know when it's going to come. We still don't know to what degree it's going to be. Yeah. So how are we preparing?
Yeah, so to me, when you get into this environment, customers need financing. Yeah. Right? I mean, we just talked about the stress that they're under. They don't have savings and they got more revolving debt than normal. So our job to help your independent members is to make the process easy, right? And we'll talk about lots of ways we're doing that, but the one I want to focus on right now is scan to apply. So if a customer walks into your store, historically, we rely on the salesperson to engage in the financing conversation. They're using their own device, the merchant's device.
Right.
It gets a little uncertain for customers, passing information back and forth.
Right.
We launched QR codes, scan to apply. We now have over 300 members active on this program. You can put a QR code on a refrigerator. You can put a QR code on a couch. You can put a QR code on a mattress. The customer simply hovers their phone over it. It launches our credit application. Our credit application is enabled with a product called Prove, which means really the customer enters 2 pieces of information. It pre-fills the rest of the application, and you're off and running.
Wow.
So that, to me, making it easier when things are tough so that you don't even have to get into the awkward conversations when credit starts to get a little more challenged. Exactly. It protects that customer and their data, and it makes it easier, which in theory helps the program grow and helps your retailers finalize sales.
Yeah, and I think it also gives the customer, a sense of it's okay. Like, I can do this on my own without anybody knowing what my credit availability is, right?
Yeah. And beyond that, I mean, if you think about the old school way of doing it, we talked about this last fall. It used to be fill out the paper application, right? And then the sales associate goes back and enters it into a terminal. The problem with the paper is someone's got to do something with that. Right. You tear off the redacted copy, right? The merchant keeps that. The customer walks out with the rest of it, but then you have to do something with that paper. You got to send it to me, right? You got to store it somewhere, and that's not ideal. So this really kills 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, and ultimately, too, you hope it gets shredded, and you hope it doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Right.
The potential implications for a paper application are just enormous.
We're on a mission to get rid of paper.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And look, we've got multiple ways that we can get rid of paper. Credit Connect is another solution we have that's completely paperless for apps and transactions. It stays on the merchant's device, but we've got over 700 members using that process as well. Wow. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a lot of great opportunities available through Wells Fargo. How is the independent channel really a focus of your go-to-market strategy? Because I think people hear Wells Fargo and they think national, ergo big box, right? Yeah. I mean, that's probably an initial assumption.
This is a hilarious question. I'm so glad you're asking it, actually. So look, for those of you who don't know, our office is headquartered in Des Moines, Iowa. Okay, and our company used to be it was a little company in Carroll, Iowa, a town like maybe 90 miles to the west of Des Moines. Okay, started in the mid '60s. It was called Mid-States Enterprises. The reason we're here as Wells Fargo today is through a series of acquisitions. Okay, so this little company eventually got bought by Wells Fargo. And you're right, Wells Fargo is a big bank, and everybody thinks we don't play in the big box space. That's not our bailiwick. It never has been. Our fastest growing segment is what we call formal dealer programs, where we have a partnership with a group like Nationwide, and they've got independent members that roll up underneath them. And I think the reason that works as well as it does, those independent members, to me, that's the spirit of entrepreneurship. Right. They're the ones that are willing to try new things, push the envelope. And when we have a partner like Nationwide that's helping us come up with new concepts to go back to that membership, it's a perfect match. So it's funny. Big bank, you're 100% right, but that's really not where we play.
Yeah. And I think that ties in a lot too. So we are at prime time. We're talking a lot about customer obsession and how you put the customer first. And, really surprise and delight. And so this seems to be kind of underscore exactly what Wells Fargo does.
It is. And when you think about, delighting the members is one thing, but also delighting the consumer that walks into their stores is another. And some of that technology we just talked about, I think for customers who haven't engaged in this type of financing for a while, they come in and they go, wow, this is so much easier than it used to be. And one thing I will talk about a little on the online side is we are pushing pre-qualification in a big way. And this is begrudgingly, I'll give a little bit of credit to some of the buy now, pay later market, right? I think they found a niche, certainly with the younger consumer, where they said, hey, look, we can find out if we can give you a product before we have to do a hard check on your credit. Okay. And so especially for the online customer, that's an opportunity that historically the bigger lenders in the private label space haven't really tapped into as hard. Yeah. We're excited about pre-qualification. At the end of the day, what it does is it gets more customers approved in total. And that's really what matters to your member is get that customer approved for the product so they can come into my store and finalize a sale.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why people put off these purchases for so long, because it's, they're like, oh, I don't want to go into a store and I have to figure out what to do. And then the financing, the idea of it becomes so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And really what you're doing is kind of tearing down those roadblocks and really easing the friction from start to finish.
And again, if you go back to what things looked like 5, 6, 7 years ago and you compare it today, I mean, it's hard to even fathom how much this space has innovated over the last 4, 5, 6 years.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
So what about from a promotional standpoint? Now I know that there's always a promotional special at prime time, but there's a lot that goes into creating these promotional opportunities throughout the entire year, not just at prime time, right? So what changes can we expect through this coming year?
Yeah, I would say, the 12-month program has just been the stalwart of this space for forever, it seems like. And while it still absolutely has a huge place in our mix, it's over 50% of our mix.
Wow.
It's interesting. We're starting to see a couple of things. One, longer-term promotions are becoming more attractive, right? And they are, even though they're costing a little bit more right now. They are, because of the things we just talked about. Consumers are starting to get stressed. Yeah. They need the ability to keep a lower payment over time. And so the one thing, we've talked about this a few times, and it's starting to get more traction now. And it's almost like it's a forbidden fruit in the furniture and appliance space, but I'm going to say it anyways. A promotion with an APR to the consumer is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we have are what we call reduced rate, equal payment promotions that can be paired and priced similarly to like a 12 or an 18-month deferred. So as the sales associate is having the conversation with the customer, you can say, Amy, I have 2 plans for you. A 12-month, no interest if paid in full. If you think you can pay this off within the 12 months, that's the right plan for you. If you want a more flexible payment over time and a low fixed APR of $899 or $999 over 48 or 60 months, I have that plan available as well. And then you as the consumer, you get to pick. And the best part to me, it's a fixed APR for the life of the promotion.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
It's not
tied to whatever craziness goes on.
No, that's right. It's recession neutral, right?
Exactly.
It literally an inflation neutral. It is a fixed APR, and to me, that's a really effective way to go about selling the product in a time where you've got maybe some uncertainty with that consumer. So I've taken more requests for those types of promotions over the last 6 or 12 months than maybe in my entire career, and certainly in industries where we've never historically seen that.
And I'm guessing too, there's no penalty for paying it off earlier. So you can kind of have a fixed lower payment, and then if you are by means able to pay more towards it, you can pay it off more quickly and be done, right?
You can, and the interesting part is on average, those customers on those reduced APR promotions, they pay them off in a little less than half of the full tenure of the promotion. So a 48-month promo is probably paying off in less than 24 months in total. So yeah, it's to me where we're going right now. I mean, look, if you go online and try to apply for a mortgage right now, 7% probably around there. You don't think $899 or $999 is an attractive term for your customer? It absolutely is, and they'll take it.
Yeah. It's right there in line.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think the only other thing we want to talk a little bit more about was kind of e-commerce and mobile usage. So it really did increase over the pandemic, and those numbers are not going down at all. I know we have Scan to Apply. What other opportunities are available in the e-commerce and mobile world?
So great question. We're fully integrated with Site on Time and RWS. So Jen and that whole team, we love working with them. I would tell you, if you're not advertising payments online, we have the ability through both of those sites to consume a monthly payment for your customers so that you can push it out through an API and show them on different products what that monthly payment would be.
Nice.
Pre-qualification, we've already talked about. That's a big deal. And we've already got 22, 23 shopping carts live with some of your brand builder members.
Wow.
And the ability, we got a bunch in queue. Carrie Pachinka's probably listening to this right now saying we've got a lot of work in front of us, but we want more of them. So that's been a big push for us. And look, the consumers' behaviors are changing, right? Yeah. And these products online, making effectively the financing process the same online as it is in stores is a big part of that.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, lots of opportunities coming down the pike with Wells Fargo. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for joining us here on Executive Insights. We look forward to talking to you again soon.